I just, it wasn't even a brain fart, it was a brain shart. I have been using the same recording platform for like 3 years now, and I still just now just forgot how to start recording. So
Do I make you panic when I count
no, you
down?
do it so well. I think it's just been like it's been like a really long day today. And I think I just
Same. And it's only
oh
1:30
my
for
god.
me. So,
Good. So
but I
it's
can feel
all
it.
it's all going swimmingly for both of us. So, t- welcome back to Oddities, everybody. I'm Cassie,
I'm Kellie.
and welcome back to Strange Town. As per usual, check out the description for links to all of our fun social media shit and also our merch. And if you'd like to email us, our email is in there as well. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's just to say hello or to share a story or a topic you want us to cover, what have you. We always respond. You can ask anybody.
Yep, because we get really excited when we hear from you guys. At least I do. I see an email about a story time or a topic suggestion or anything. I'm like,
100%. My heart like skips a beat and I start sweating profusely because I'm happy. Truly. So it's all there. And a big shout out to, before I forget, to Lindsay Bidwill. She has designed our new logo thing and also some of our merch. She does brilliant work. We've got her Instagram portfolio linked in our description as well.
she is amazing.
Hire her. Thanks, Lindsay.
This is so random, but I have to say, your eyebrows look amazing today.
Thank you. I spent some extra time on them this morning.
It shows.
I'll tell you
It
why I
shows.
spent some extra time on them. You're gonna laugh. So I have like a little it's like a little trimmer that you can just use for like miscellaneous. Like you can use it in your nose if you want. You can use it for like eyebrow detailing, like what have you. I get like I don't really get a unibrow. I get like three hairs that show up in between my eyebrows. And I was feeling lazy and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to shave them." Shaved off like a quarter of one of my eyebrows. So I
Whoa.
that is why I spent extra time on them because I feel okay.
Okay, for the record though, I couldn't tell that you did that. You just look
Thank
really
you.
great. Is all I'm
Thank you
saying.
for saying so. I was feeling self-conscious, so you knew I needed that without even knowing. So thank you.
Out now. That's how thin my patience is today.
Oh my god, you used the mom voice. That was so cool to hear.
Oh,
So
it worked.
why don't you tell us how are you?
Just so here's the thing. Everyone knows I live in California. Everyone knows that California is basically underwater now.
You're either on
It's
fire or underwater. There is no in between.
there's no in between. It's that's the way it is. And I love the amount of rain that we're getting, but my kids are going crazy because they're cooped up.
We just need to chloroform them.
Yesterday we found this really great place in our area. It's like, I don't know what it's called. It's like a little city for kids.
Oh, cool.
So it's buildings all their size. They've got houses and like a little mechanic shop and a costume place and a
Fun.
grocery store and a diner. It's adorable. It's awesome. The kids had a freaking blast. It was like literally my savior. I just regret that we went an hour before closing.
Oh my god.
So,
Well, now we know for next time.
yes, now we know for next time. But it is a really cool place. It's close by, so we will be utilizing that more during rainy days because apparently California's decided we're allowed to have rain again. So,
Amaze
yay.
balls. Well, that's a good
Um,
find.
yeah, so that's pretty good. But yeah, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's like they don't exactly understand, well, why can't we go play outside? Well, it's 48 degrees and raining. That's why. So,
So that's that.
but other than that, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine. Let's see. We're recording on a Monday, by the way, because this past weekend we took a road trip out to New Jersey to celebrate my dad's birthday. So I'm just fresh off of work, and so therefore a little bit fried. I'm a little bit fried because a big presentation coming up like next week, and so I'm just like a little little stressed, but it'll be fine.
You're
And
gonna nail it.
we sure hope so. And there's also like a big event coming up for work in February, so there's been like just like a ton of hype around that and stuff we have to do. So but that'll be cool. Get to go to Nashville, and my company is like, we're gonna go hang out. My company, like I own it. The company I work for. I wish I owned it. The company that I work for, we're gonna go to a saloon one night. I'm pumped. You
That's
better,
exciting.
you better believe I'm getting some bedazzled ass cowboy boots to wear. Like I'm gonna yeehaw the fuck on up
You
into
need to
there.
get the bedazzled fringe jacket. That's like a very in thing that I'm seeing right now.
Okay, where can I find it though? Because like people keep mentioning it, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like I'll wear that shit.
I'll do research and send you links
Thank you. I
because I'm
appreciate.
good at that.
I
I'm really good at
appreciate
finding
it.
crap.
You're great at a lot of things. First of all, second of
Oh,
all,
thanks.
I do appreciate that. Otherwise, I'm gonna get like an all black fringe jacket because it's just all black everything all the time for me. Black like my soul.
Mine too. I mean,
So, I mean,
at least we match.
that's right. And let's see, anything fun to share? Corey, this is a fun fact for everybody. Corey had never seen the show Friends, so we've been making our way. I have all of them on DVD. I'm dating myself, but we've been watching them.
I love this so much, and I just wish that I could witness it unfold of him watching it.
He
But
loves
what I
it.
love more than anything is the fact that Michael and I were obsessed with that show when we were all living in the same city.
Oh my god.
So, like, the amount of times we actually watched it and, like, just managed to miss when Corey was hanging out with us to watch it.
I love that. Yeah, he really loves it. And we are on the final season. We're getting there. But what we just realized the other night is I actually had in fact started this without him, so like he missed like the whole first season. So now when we finish, we have to go back to the first season.
Gotta do a little wraparound.
Just-
Little wraparound.
we love a beginning and we love an end. So
Little fun fact. Seriously, we've watched it so many times, my husband and I. And Lego came out with the set of
Oh, I
the
love
coffee,
that.
the coffee
Central
shop.
Perk.
Yeah, and so we built that while watching the reunion,
Oh,
which was
fun.
fun. And then we haven't built it yet, but we have the apartments now.
Oh my god, shut up. They make all
And
of that.
yes, and you bet your ass we will be watching Friends while building the
Of
apartments.
course,
It's
naturally.
the only way to do it. So it's our
That's
date nights. That's what we do. We send the
that's
kids to bed
fun.
and we build Legos.
I love that. Well, obviously send pictures when it's done. All of them,
I
I should
will.
say, when they're done. Um,
I have a
but
china cabinet just filled with Legos.
oh, I know you
It's
mentioned that. I love that. That's
yeah.
so fun. Who's your favorite friend?
I'm between Phoebe and Joey.
Okay.
I think they have a lot of great things that just like go over everyone's heads.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like they have some really good lines that just everyone decides to miss.
I know.
So,
I like Chandler and Joey, I think. And I really liked it when they were living together, like towards the beginning.
they are a fantastic duo.
They are. They truly are.
Yeah.
Wow. So, well, here we are, 8.5 minutes in, as per usual, right on track. Actually,
Hey,
this
we're
is
doing
fast.
better.
This is
Yeah.
fast for us. Wow.
Look at us.
I have a lengthy and heavy topic, but one that I'll inevitably make many jokes about in between.
Same.
It's you too.
I don't know that it's lengthy. I mean, how many pages?
Well, I
do
mean,
I
to
write
be fair,
here?
mine's only lengthy because I put it in like really large font for some reason. So
Okay. Easier to read. I do that.
I think I honestly just wasn't paying attention to what the fuck I was doing, as per
Fair.
usual.
I have 3.5 pages.
Oh my god, mine's literally 22 pages right now.
Okay.
So
This is in my handy dandy little book.
I love it. Do you want to? I think I started last week, didn't I?
I think you did because we were going to end on a conspiracy.
Conspiracy theory.
I didn't say it right. Anyway.
I like what you just did. That was like bluesy. You're like conspiracy. I like that.
Love that.
Why don't you take it away, my friend?
Well, I'm going to be surprising you and surprising our listeners. I decided this week to do a surprise part 2 to my last week's.
Is it Marie
conspiracy theory.
Laveau?
No, it's not.
Oh, Because
It
that's
was
okay.
going to be.
We covered her anyway, so in the past.
I was covering something creepy that happens with her. But anyways,
Okay. Okay. Listening.
I'm covering a more factual part to last week's
Ooh.
of the bodies of the Titanic.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh.
What happened to them?
Ooh.
Where did they go? What 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 was made of them? What was done with them?
I
Do
mean,
do 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 do
you
do.
know, you know, I love dead people, which sounds all wrong, but it's all good.
But if everyone knows you, which everyone who's listening at this point better know you, it's
I
all
would
good.
hope so. We've been on this road together a while now, my friends.
It's been a wild one. Um, Now again, we all know about the Titanic. And whether it's because you've actually read about the Titanic or because Leo and Kate taught you about the Titanic,
That's correct.
we all know. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I will dive into what happened after it sank.
Okay.
The Titanic was carrying 2,224 passengers and crew on board. And that number bothers me. Why wasn't there 225?
Yeah, why'd they have to? Why? Why?
It's just that one, like, why
Why?
couldn't it just be a nice round number?
A nice,
That's all
nice
I'm asking.
225, but no. But that's a big old fuck you to all of us throughout time.
There were 724 passengers and crew saved, leaving approximately 1,500 passengers and crew dead. So what happened to the deceased? Were they recovered? Were they buried at sea? Did they stay in the Titanic?
Oh Lord. Okay.
Here's the bigger questions. With 1,500 deceased, how many did go down with the ship? How many managed to make it up or stay on the surface because of their life jackets? And how many died from hypothermia within 15 minutes because of the 28-degree water?
Also, can I just say fuck that? That is an awful way to fucking like. I mean, honestly,
And, like, it sounds quick, but I don't think that's
that's a
quick
long
at all. I think
15
it's a
fucking
horrid
minutes.
way to die because you're literally slowly freezing to death. Like, there's no.
No,
That's just
that's such
ouch.
ass. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I wouldn't wish drowning on anybody either. I don't know. Like I wouldn't be down for that.
No. One fact is that 340 bodies were recovered, which means 1,160 bodies were never seen again.
Oops.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they went down with the ship. 3 days after the sinking, a ship by the name of the Mackie Bennett set sail from Nova Scotia, Canada, to recover the bodies, but didn't arrive until 4 days later, meaning it had been an entire week since the sinking before the bodies were even recovered, were even
Oh my god.
found,
Well, what about
essentially.
currents and everything?
And that's the hard part, and I think that's why it took them longer to find them, being that timeline. The deceased were exposed in the ocean,
Yeah.
in the natural elements, in the sun, birds, creatures.
Yeah.
They weren't in pristine condition, to say the least.
I'm sure.
In total, the Mackie Bennett recovered 306 bodies, another boat recovered 22 bodies, another boat recovered 6, and another boat recovered 3 more, floating in a boat 200 miles away from the crash site a month later.
Oh god.
So it's pretty impossible to know exactly how many went down with the ship or floated away, really. Like, I mean, when you think about it, currents, wind, life jackets, they're going to float. And so who knows where other bodies may have ended up. Some of the bodies that were recovered were too disfigured to be able to identify, so they were wrapped in canvas and weighed down and put back into the ocean for a sea burial. Approximately 166 bodies they did this to. The ones that they did decide there was hope for, they were embalmed on the Mackie Bennett, and they were placed in coffins, and the funeral home in Nova Scotia that was responsible, wait for it.
Oh my god. There's a Titanic.
John Snow Company.
Shut up! Do they know nothing?
And they used the local curling rink as a temporary morgue for the bodies coming back.
Oh god. I mean, that was kind of smart though, but like
It's totally a Canada thing.
that is so Canadian. Like that's the most Canadian.
when they were returned, there were 150 people buried in Halifax who were never actually identified, despite
Oh,
the hope that they might be. Now, as far as the bodies trapped within the Titanic,
right.
you're a science lady. You know that obviously they're not there anymore. They're
Correct.
long gone.
They're gone. They,
Due
yes.
to currents, due to natural sea life, due to exposure,
Decomp. Yep.
they don't, no. And actually, James Cameron has said that he saw absolutely no human remains on his 30 dives to the ship,
Wow. I believe it. I mean, why
right?
would he at that point?
So, believe it or not, this has been like a rising question since it happened. What all happened to the bodies? And like, there's like a few articles, but all of them say different things.
Of course.
And that just makes me ask more questions.
Of course.
My source for this was Ask Mortician. Again, she's on YouTube. If you guys aren't following or watching
God
her
bless.
things, you should be, because she's phenomenal. I just feel like hers was the most accurate, so I went with hers.
I would do that. Yeah, good choice.
So, wow, that wasn't really very long at all. I suck.
No, you don't. That
I
was
thought
good.
four and a half pages.
That was very interesting.
I stopped recording somehow.
Oh my God, when did you
It's
stop?
okay. It just stopped just now.
Okay. Is it
So,
back?
yeah, it's back. It's fine.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
It
All right.
just
So
gave me
we
a mini heart attack. We're fine.
Holy shit. Okay. All according to plan, as always.
I accidentally
Technical.
hit the space bar, and it did it.
No technical
God.
difficulties. No. Yep. It's all on par here. I
Why
love
did I
that.
decide to cover this? Well, I think it's interesting, and I was curious to see what was done in that timeline. I mean, 1912. There's
Yeah.
a mass difference of rescuing, obviously, and recovery.
Disaster response. Excuse me.
I think it is interesting that a lot of bodies were buried back to sea after being recovered, and I like a lot of people are horrified by that, but I think it's kind of beautiful. And let's like backtrack again. Reminder, I was raised by two Navy sailors.
Right.
So I know what a burial at sea means. I learned about it at a young age. So to me, I guess it's not weird. It's a normal thing for me to hear. But I mean, it wasn't like they were like, "Oh, we can't identify you, flop." It was a respectful thing, and there's actually some really cool photos of the Mackie Bennett, and I believe it's a priest blessing the bodies and burying them at sea. Like it was a whole ceremony. They weren't just like cover, wade, drop. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm
It
glad they
was
did it
very
right.
respectfully done. And even the bodies that they were able to recover and embalm and bring back, those were they even though they were not identifiable, they were still given proper burials, proper services. The only thing that bums me about that is like who knows what their beliefs were,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So who knows if they got like the proper thing, but at least they were trying to respect the bodies, and I can applaud them for that.
Well, yeah, and I think it's more of like with that whole thing anyway is like the intention behind it. Like, how would they have been able to know anyway, like what their beliefs were and everything? So they did the best they could, and I think that's what really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I also went with this topic mainly because I had sent Cassie information about the
My
Titanic
God.
Expo in my area, and it's been literally on my TikTok feed now, on my Instagram feed, on Facebook. Ads are popping up, and I was like, I just couldn't get it out of my brain, so I decided part two, friends.
I love it. No, I'm so glad. I will first of all talk up and down about the Titanic any day, but second of all about dead bodies. I mean just death is
It's
just
fat.
like one of my
It's
favorite
fascinating.
topics.
Death is fascinating. I think yeah, there was a time where I mean, I think everyone has a time where they fear death, but I think if you embrace it and learn about it, it makes it less scary. And I know I like learning. So,
Yeah, I'm super comfortable with the concept of death. So like it's just yeah, but I love talking about the scientific side of things. I love talking about how bodies break down. I like talking about what happens. Another thing too, if you think about the whole burial back at sea thing, it's like very much like ashes to ashes, dust to dust energy, right? Like they died out there,
oh,
they're getting laid
big.
to rest
Yeah.
out there. Like I don't know, I just think it's kind of like yeah, there's something a little bit poetic about it. I could see why people would be like, "What the fuck?" Like I can see
Which
that, but Yeah.
Which also like makes a poetic end to the Titanic because she goes back to the ship when she dies and they're
Big
all
time.
there. Also, I do want to say a really fun fact about somebody who didn't die on the Titanic, and this was
Hmm.
like kind of a, I don't know if it was a nod in the movie. In the movie, and they're hanging on the ship, and the chef is there drinking out of his flask.
Big time.
The real chef actually survived because he was drunk.
I love that.
He
That
was
is
recovered and alive, because they actually did try to go back to save those who
right.
were in there. He was alive because he was warm from the alcohol,
Dude,
specifically from the cooking sherry.
that guy did it right. If I was going to be dealing with any of that shit, I would get drunk off of my ass. Hell
I'm
yeah.
dying. Where's the alcohol?
Give me the booze. Yeah.
I'm
Let's
going
have
out with a
ourselves
bang,
a
friends.
party. Yeah. I love it. Conspiracy. I just can't stop now.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well done. What an interesting, good choice. Well, snaps for Kellie. Yes,
Thank
I
you.
love it. I love it. Go you. I have a radically different direction that I'm taking us in,
All right,
as
let's
per
go.
usual. Today I'm covering the House of 200 Demons, aka the exorcisms of Latoya Amons.
Right on. Let's go.
Rolls right off the tip of the tongue.
See, there's a good number. 200.
200, that's a nice number.
It's not 298.
It's not
It's
202.
It's not 197. It's 200.
216.
That's all I'm saying, Titanic. You should have known better.
Yeah, fuckers. So the year is 2014. So really not that long ago at all. I mean,
Ooh.
this is actually like way too close for comfort. And our story involves a woman and 3 children who claim to be possessed by demons. A 9-year-old boy walking backward up a wall in the presence of a family case manager and a hospital nurse. There's a lot of shit happening here, right? Okay.
Wow.
The police captain involved, Charles Austin, said it was the strangest story he had ever heard, and he was a 36-year veteran of the Gary Police Department, and he said he initially thought the Indianapolis resident Latoya Amons and her family concocted an elaborate tale as a way to make money. Which, like, I gotta be honest, if I was in his shoes and I heard this shit, I'd probably be like, this sounds pretty fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
But after several visits to their home and interviews with witnesses, he says simply, quote, I am a believer. This is a spook-a-la-book, right? So just everybody hold on to your fucking pants. This is going to get crazy. Not your hat, your pants. So
I'm holding on to my ears.
hold on, hold whatever the fuck you want, to be honest. So not everybody involved with the family was inclined to believe this rather incredible story. And many people who hear about it will continue to find these supernatural claims impossible to accept. I'm borderline too, but some of this shit is crazy. So, whatever the cause of the creepy occurrences that befell the family, whether they were seized by a systemic delusion or a demonic possession, it led to one of the most unusual cases ever handled by the Department of Child Services. And many of the events are detailed in nearly 800 pages of official records.
Oh my.
I know. And these events have been recounted, Jesus, in more than a dozen interviews with police, DCS personnel, psychologists, the family members, as well as a Catholic priest. So Latoya, who swears by her story, has been like unusually open about the whole ordeal. She's like at the time of like interviews and things like that I read, she spoke solely on the condition that her children would not be interviewed or named. She signed releases letting like these different publications review medical, psychological, and official records that are not generally open to the public. And these records are, of course, not always flattering either. And furthermore, the family's story is made only more bizarre because it involves, like I said, a DCS intervention, a string of psychological evaluations, a police investigation, and ultimately a series of exorcisms. So, the whole thing starts with some flies, which is like so horror movie, right? So November 2011 is when it really kicked off. So the Amons family moves into a rental house on Carolina Street in Gary, which is a quiet road lined with like 1-story homes. It's like kind of cute, whatever. All of a sudden, big black flies suddenly swarm their screened-in porch in December, despite the winter chill.
No, thank you.
And Latoya's mother, Rosa Campbell, she remembers thinking, this isn't normal, to which I would in fact agree.
Same.
And Rosa says, quote, we killed them and killed them and killed them, but they kept coming back. You're right, Rosa. That shit's not normal. We can't have that. And there were other strange things happening too. Like after midnight, both Latoya and her mother, Rosa, said they would occasionally hear the steady clump of like footsteps climbing the basement stairs. And then they would hear the corresponding creak of the door opening between the basement and the kitchen, but nobody was there. Even after they locked the door, they would hear this. Fuck that. Campbell said she awoke one night and saw a shadowy figure of a man pacing her living room. She leapt out of bed to investigate and found large, wet boot prints, which is gross. So not only is this fucker people like it's keeping people up, it's fucking making a mess. I draw the line. Like if you're gonna haunt my ass, don't fucking make my shit messy.
Yeah, don't mess my house up. Don't do that. No.
Like fuck
Be
off.
polite at least.
Yeah, Jesus. So come March 10th, 2012. So we're now several months into this shit. The grandmother Rosa, she says the family's unease starts to turn to like true fear. Which, by the way, at this point, I would already be afraid. It wouldn't be unease. I would be well past the point of unease. Like it would have, I would have like saw the flies and I would have been like, what the fuck? Anyway, March 10th, 2012. It's about 2 a.m. Normally, Rosa Campbell, the grandma, Latoya Amons, the mom, and her children would have been asleep. It's 2 a.m. But they were mourning the death of a loved one with a group of friends. And so Latoya, who was in Rosa's bedroom, startles everybody by screaming for her mother. Rosa says she ran into her bedroom where her then 12-year-old granddaughter and a friend were staying. Latoya and Rosa said the 12-year-old was levitating above the bed, unconscious. Okay?
Demons.
According to their account of events, Latoya and several others surrounded this chick who's just like, you know, I mean,
floating.
just floating like you do. And they start praying. And Rosa says she remembers being like very afraid. Eventually, the granddaughter descends onto the bed. The girl wakes up with no memory of what happened. And then both Latoya and Rosa said the people who were visiting that night refused to return ever again, which, like, I mean...
Same.
If this legitimately happened and I saw this shit, I'd be like, yeah, hell fucking no. Like,
no thanks, bye.
The grass
Here's
is in
some
fact
holy water.
greener. Yeah, like, here's some holy water, and also, by the way, drink it. Like, cleanse it from the inside. So, Rosa remembers telling Latoya, like, that they needed help. Like, they needed to talk to somebody who knows how to deal with this shit. They didn't know what the shit really was that they were dealing with, but they knew it couldn't be normal and felt, yes, it was something supernatural. So they call local churches. Most of them refused to listen. So, rude.
Very rude.
Eventually, after listening to Rosa and Latoya talk about the house and visiting it, officials at one church tell them that the Carolina Street house has spirits in it. It's like, well, you don't say if this shit is actually happening. So they recommend the family cleans the home with bleach and ammonia and then use oil to draw crosses on every door and window. I don't
Anointing
know.
with oil. That's a thing, yeah.
That's a thing, but like the bleach and ammonia...
Doesn't that create
Isn't that
a
like
chemical...
that's a terrible thing to combine. Yes, you can die from that.
Okay, thank you
So
for confirming that.
So thanks to the church. All right. So anyway, Latoya says, like, cool. She pours olive oil on her 3 children's hands and feet. She smears oil in the shape of crosses on their foreheads, and then they do the windows and shit. You know, she's like, I might as well do the kids too, because why not? So Rosa and Latoya share with a publication that they reached out to 2 clairvoyants who said that the family's home was besieged by more than 200 demons. Why are they all hanging out?
Demons,
yeah, demons.
sorry.
Oh yeah, demons is demons. I have the desire to only speak about demons as if I was like a Southern Baptist priest. It's demons. So
That works so well for you.
thank you. Their explanation, these clairvoyants, like Rosa and Latoya, they're like, yeah, that like checks out because it meshes with like their Christian faith or whatever. So the best thing they say is you can move. So Latoya rather is like, okay, but we can't do that because we don't have the money for this shit. We literally just showed up to this shit like we're kind of strapped for cash, like you are when you fucking move. So instead, She takes another clairvoyant's advice and makes an altar in the basement, like you do. So she sets up a little end table with a white sheet. She places a white candle and a statue of Mary, Joseph, and good old Jesus on it. And then she opens a Bible to Psalm 91. You know, I'll get there. I'll get to what Psalm 91 is. So she says she and another person, they don white t-shirts. I don't know who this other person is, and I couldn't figure out. But anyway, they wind these like white scarves around their heads. On the clairvoyant's advice, they burn sage and sulfur throughout the house. They start upstairs, they work their way down. The smoke was so thick that they could like not really breathe. And then she draws a cross with the smoke. And so the person she was with reads Psalm 91 aloud as they move through the house. Psalm 91 is, "You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday." And she says then after that, nothing odd happens for 3 days. Then all of a sudden the shit hits the fan. I guess like even more than the shit is hitting the fan. We have multiple shits hitting the fan, okay? So the family says the demons possessed Latoya and her children. Then, aged 7, 9, and 12. The kids' eyes start bulging. They get these like weird evil smiles on their faces, and then their voices deepen every time it happens. Both Rosa and Latoya said. I'm kind of like down to question it a little bit because it's like, well, Latoya, weren't you theoretically possessed as well? Also, why wasn't Rosa? But whatever.
Yeah.
Rosa argues that the demons didn't affect her because she was born with protection from evil. And then she says she, like others, and others like her, have a guardian who protects them. Why didn't you pass that shit down to Latoya?
Yeah, your daughter and grandchildren.
Just saying. So anyway, Latoya says, big time. Latoya says when she was possessed, she felt weak, lightheaded, and warm. And her body would shake, and she said she felt out of control. And she said, you can tell it's different. It's something supernatural. The thing that's weird to me is, like, why does she remember it? I feel like a lot of times when people are, like, possessed, they don't remember it. So then the youngest boy, then the age of 7, apparently would sit in a closet talking to a boy that no one else could see. And the other boy was describing what it felt like to be killed. So that's a big hell no.
Oh.
I mean...
No.
Rosa says that the 7-year-old once like flew out of the bathroom as if he'd been thrown. Another time a headboard once smacked into one of the daughters, causing a wound that needed stitches. The 12-year-old would later tell mental health professionals that she sometimes felt as if she was being choked and held down so she couldn't speak or move. And she said she heard a voice say that she'd never see her family again and wouldn't live for another 20 minutes. So, there you
horrifying.
Go. And then some nights were so bad the family like packed up and they went and slept at a hotel, which like I wouldn't have come back to the fucking house. Like, yeah, you paid that money, but
why did you keep coming back?
Like, why did we go back? So finally, out of desperation, they go to their family physician, who is a Dr. Jeffrey Onyuku.
Go with it.
Yep. And this was April 19, 2012. Latoya says she tells him what they're going through, and she's hoping he might understand. And he said it was bizarre. He said at that point, he had been working 20 years in that profession and had never heard anything like that in his life. And he was scared when he walked into the room. And he said he wouldn't speak in more detail on it unless Latoya had psychiatric clearance for like a waiver that she signed. So in his medical notes about the visit, he wrote, quote, delusions of ghost in home and, quote, hallucinations. He also wrote, quote, history of ghost at home and, quote, delusional. So, okay. So what Latoya and Rosa say happened next was also detailed in a DCS report from a family case manager's interviews with medical staff. So essentially chaos erupts. So both of Latoya's sons curse the doctor in demonic voices and like rage at him. To be a fucking fly on the wall. No pun intended with the whole flies thing, but you know. But maybe. Medical staff say the youngest boy was, quote, lifted and thrown into the wall with nobody touching him. The boys abruptly pass out. They wouldn't come to. The grandma, Rosa, she cradles one of the boys in her arms. Latoya held the other. Somebody from the doctor's office calls 911. And 7 or 8 police officers and multiple ambulances show up. And he says, quote, nobody could figure out what was happening. You don't say. So Police and emergency personnel take the boys to Methodist Hospital's campus in Gary. Latoya said hospital personnel laughed at her desire to anoint her sons in olive oil. And she says she couldn't talk to them, so she talked to God. The boys wake up in the hospital. The older boy, who was 9, he acts rationally, but the youngest screams and thrashes. It took 5 men to hold him down.
Wow.
Meanwhile, somebody calls DCS and asks the agency to investigate Latoya for possible child abuse or neglect or something. Which, like, I get it. That step
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. So the caller, who's not named in the DCS report, speculates that Latoya might have a mental illness. The person believed the children were performing for her, and she was encouraging their behavior. So a family case manager, her name is Valerie Washington, is asked to handle the initial investigation. And she gives the following account to police and in her intake officer's report. She says, hospital personnel examined Latoya and her children and found them to be healthy and free of marks or bruises. A hospital psychiatrist evaluates Latoya and determines she is of sound mind. Valerie then interviews the family in the hospital. While she spoke with Latoya, the 7-year-old boy starts growling with his teeth showing, and then his eyes rolled back in his head. And then the boy locked his hands around his older brother's throat and refused to let go until adults pried his hands open. And then later that evening, Valerie and a registered nurse, Willie Lee Walker, brings the two boys
What
into
a
a small...
name.
I know. Brings the two boys into a small exam room for an interview. And then Rosa, the grandma, joins them. The 7-year-old stares into his brother's eyes and starts to growl. And then he says in this like deep and unnatural voice, he says, "It's time to die, I will kill you." And while the youngest boy spoke, the older brother started headbutting the grandma in the stomach. So
Ouch.
rude and ouch. So she grabs her grandson's hand, she starts praying. And then what happens next is like crazy fucking shit. And to some, it would offer not only evidence, but essentially proof of paranormal activity. According to the original DCS report, and this is an account corroborated by the nurse, Willie Lee Walker, the 9-year-old had a, quote, weird grin and walked backward up a wall to the ceiling, then flipped over Rosa, landing on his feet. And he never let go of his grandmother's hand the entire time.
Want to see a cool party trick?
Yeah, that's some parkour shit. So he walks up the wall, flips over her, and then he just stands there, according to the nurse. And she's like, there's no way he could have just, like, done that naturally. So later, the police ask Valerie, the case manager, whether the boy had run up the wall as though performing some kind of an acrobatic trick. And she says no. She said he literally glided backward on the floor, wall, and ceiling. So he was moonwalking.
Again, want to see a cool party trick?
Literally the coolest. So she told police she was scared when it happened and ran out of the room. And the nurse ran out of the room with her. So she said they didn't know what was going on. They said it was crazy. Like, everybody's got to go. So according to the case manager's report, they tell a doctor what happened. And the doctor, who didn't believe them, asked the boy to do it again. And the nurse said he didn't feel that the kid could do it again. He was like, this kid wasn't himself when he did that. So, like, no. The boy says he doesn't remember what happened and couldn't do it, according to the case manager's report. So the nurse, who said he previously believed in demons and spirits, thought the boy's behavior had, quote, some demonic spirit to it, but also was the result of a mental illness.
Why does it always go back to that? Yeah, sure. There's some demon energy here, but, like, they're mentally ill. So
let's chalk it up to the long list of things that we don't try and understand about mental illness. So anyway, a police report quotes the case manager saying she believed there could be an evil influence affecting the family. So then Latoya spends the night at the hospital with her 7-year-old, while the grandma, Rosa, takes the daughter and older son to a relative's home in the same town. The next day was the youngest son's 8th birthday. Happy
birthday.
So DCS officials asked the grandma to bring the two older children back to the hospital, presumably to talk more about what happened. The family celebrates the family celebrates the boy's birthday by singing and eating a miniature cake. Just in the middle of all this shit. Then,
because cake makes everything better, you guys. That's the bottom line.
Cake. I know. And then Latoya says the case manager told them the children wouldn't be going home. DCS took the emergency step of taking custody of the children without a court order. All the children were experiencing spiritual and emotional distress, according to the form that was filled out. And so
Mm-hmm.
Latoya shares that she and her children cried because they didn't want to be separated. And she said that they'd already been through so much and fought so hard for everything that it was obvious that they were a team and they were breaking up the team. Whatever. So then we're April 20th, 2012. Reverend Michael Magano was leading a Bible study in his living room that morning, and he receives a call from the hospital chaplain. Could you imagine? So Magano had been the priest at St. Stephen Martyr Parish in Maryville for more than 10 years, but had never received a request like this. And the request is, essentially, to perform an exorcism on the 9-year-old. So Magano agrees to interview the family after a Sunday Mass a few days later. Yeah?
I'm confused. I thought you said this was in. Did you just say April 20th, 2012?
Yeah.
I
This
thought this was in
lasted
2014.
This lasts up until 2014. It starts in 2011 and
Oh,
lasts up until
okay.
2014.
I got
So,
confuzzled. Sorry.
no, that's my bad. So the first step, Magano says, is ruling out natural causes. So, like, snaps for him. Because, I mean, that's good. We like a logical priest. Far and
Yes.
few between. So, so he visits Latoya and Rosa in their home, April 22nd. For 2 hours, they detail this whole phenomena for him. And then, all of a sudden, the lights start flickering in the bathroom. And the flickering stops each time Magano walks over to investigate, which he attributes to a demonic presence. And he says, "It must be scared of me." Of course. The interview was interrupted again when Rosa points out Venetian blinds in the kitchen swinging even though there's no air current. So the priest also said he saw wet footprints throughout the living room. Latoya complains about having a headache. Magano says she convulsed when he placed a crucifix against her head. And then after a 4-hour interview, the priest says he's convinced the family was being tormented by demons. He also believed that there were ghosts in the house, too. So everybody's just hanging out in this house.
There you go.
He blesses the house before he leaves. He prays, he reads from the Bible, blah, blah, blah. And then he tells Rosa and Latoya to leave because it's not safe. So they moved in with a relative for, like, just temporarily. So then, less than a week later, they're back in the house to let the DCS case manager check the condition of the home. And she asked to bring a police officer with her. So 2 other officers, one each from Gary and Hammond police departments, asked to join out of professional curiosities. So Latoya refuses to go inside, but Rosa agrees to accompany the group. So the kids were still with DCS. It's just them. So the main floor has 3 bedrooms, a living room, a bathroom, hardwood floors, a small open-style kitchen, and then a door in the kitchen that led to the basement, which I talked about before. And the basement has concrete floors. Directly under the stairs, however, is a dirt floor, and the concrete around it was jagged, like it had been broken. The makeshift altar that Latoya had created was still in place, along with rings of salt that she poured against the basement walls to dissuade the demons, theoretically. Rosa tells officers that the demons seem to emanate from beneath the stairs. How she arrived at that conclusion, I don't know, but I mean, I guess it looks spooky, so, like, I could see it. The police captain shares that he believed in ghosts and the supernatural, but said he didn't believe in demons. And he changed his mind after visiting the home. So while interviewing Rosa, one of the officer's audio recorders malfunctioned. The power light flashed to indicate the batteries were dying, even though the officer had just placed in fresh batteries prior to them coming to the ship. Another officer recorded audio, and when he played it back later, heard an unknown voice whisper, "Hey," according to police records. That officer also took photos of the house. In one photo of the stairs, there's a cloudy white image in the upper right-hand corner. When he enlarges the photo, the cloud appears to resemble a face. And then the enlargement also reveals a second green image that police say look like a female. The captain said the photos he took with his iPhone also seemed to have strange silhouettes in them. And the radio in his police-issued Ford malfunctioned on the way home. And then later, the captain shares that the garage at his Gary home refused to open, even though the power was on everywhere else. And he said the driver's seat in his personal 2005 Infiniti also started moving backward and forward on its own. So I guess it followed him up. So He said he had the car checked at the dealership. The mechanic told him the motor on the driver's seat was broken, which the mechanic said could have caused a distraction leading to an accident eventually. So, the captain says he finds himself starting to believe in these claims of paranormal activity, whatever. So, mental health professionals evaluating Latoya and her children still remain skeptical. So, DCS outlines a case plan. They petition for temporary wardship of the children. The request is granted. They find that Latoya neglected her children's education by not having them in school regularly. And that same finding was actually found back in 2009 before all of this, too, as records would show. Latoya says there were times she couldn't send the kids to school because the spirits would make them sick or they would be up all night without sleep. DCS temporarily places her daughter and older son at St. Joseph's Carmelite Home in East Chicago, and the youngest son is sent to Christian Haven in Wheatfield for psychiatric evaluation. Clinical psychologist Stacy Wright, who evaluated the youngest son, says the boy tended to act possessed when he was challenged, redirected, or asked questions he didn't want to answer. In her evaluation, she writes that he seemed coherent and logical except when he talked about the demons. And then the stories became bizarre, fragmented, and illogical, and his stories changed every time he told them. He would also change the subject, quizzing the doctor on math problems and asking her about outer space. Weirdly. So she believes that the 8-year-old didn't suffer from a true psychotic disorder, and she said it appears to be an unfortunate and sad case of a child who has been induced into a delusional system perpetuated by his mother and potentially reinforced by other relatives. A separate psychologist evaluates the daughter and older son and comes to a similar conclusion independently. And says there also appears to be a need to assess the extent to which the daughter may have been unduly influenced by her mother's concerns, that the family was exposed to paranormal experiences. So, the daughter shares with the psychologist that she would see shadowy figures. She also said that she went into trances twice. The older son says that the doors would slam and stuff would move around on its own. Latoya was also examined several times by psychologists, but she was guarded and did not seem to be experiencing symptoms of psychosis or thought disorder. And another psychologist recommended that she be assessed to determine whether her religiosity may be masking underlying delusional ideations or perceptual disturbances. Talk about a lot of big words in one sentence.
Right.
I know. So they all, despite all of this, continue to insist that they were possessed by demons. So DCS sets goals for the family. One of them stipulated that the children not discuss demons and being possessed and take responsibility for their actions. They also need to participate in therapy to address past behavior. Okay. DCS officials did credit Latoya for sharing a close bond with her children, but they also said she needed to use alternate forms of discipline not directly related to religion and demonic possession. So, anyway. And Latoya also had to find a job and appropriate housing due to the paranormal activity that they were theoretically experiencing. So, she worked on meeting those objectives. Police and DCS officials continue to investigate the house. So Rosa Latoya, several police officers, they go back to the house in May. They come after work hours for the police officers. They're joined by the priest, a couple of county officers, a police dog, and the case manager.
Okay.
I know. And this is a different case
Why did
manager.
you have to bring the dog? What did the dog do to you guys? Come on.
I know, seriously. So this is a different case manager. She volunteered to go, I guess, again, out of professional curiosity. I don't really know. But anyway, she says she touched some strange liquid that she saw dripping in the basement and said it felt slippery yet sticky between her fingers.
No. Ew. God.
No. The priest said he wanted to check the dirt under the stairs for a pentagram or personal objects. And maybe somebody was also buried there, whatever. So they dig a 4x3 foot hole beneath the stairs. They unearth a pink press-on fingernail, a white pair of panties, a political shirt pin, a lid made for a small cooking pan, socks with the bottoms cut off below the ankles, candy wrappers, and a heavy metal object that looked like a weight for a drapery cord. But they didn't find anything else. That all sounds like
very random.
That sounds like a possible murder site to me. We've got some weird shit there, but anyway, they didn't find anything else, so they replaced the dirt and rake over it. I think they probably should have gone deeper.
Yep.
Granted, they found those things, but whatever. So he blesses some salt, the priest, and he spreads it around under the stairs and throughout the basement or whatever. So the case manager is standing in the living room with the rest of the group, and she feels her left pinky finger start to tingle and whiten, and said it felt broken. And then less than 10 minutes later, she said she felt like she was having a panic attack and couldn't breathe. So she goes outside. When the priest starts questioning Latoya inside the house, she complains of a headache and shoulder pain and goes outside. The captain left the house at nightfall, and said he was not interested in staying in the house past dark. The other officers continue to walk through the home. They find an oil-like substance dripping from Venetian blinds in the bedroom. Couldn't figure out where it was coming from. To make sure Rosa or Latoya hadn't poured oil on the blinds, two of the officers used paper towels to clean it off. They sealed the room for 25 minutes, stood nearby so nobody could walk in, and then when they went back in, it had reappeared on its own. So that's interesting. And then here comes the exorcism. So the priest says, in all of his time, he had never seen an exorcism actually authorized by a bishop in the Diocese of Gary. But, and there's also like mixed things saying like people aren't sure whether like this person actually ever received an approval for an exorcism. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the bishop tells Magano to contact other priests, see if they've done exorcisms, whatever. There's like a lot of barking up trees and weird shit with this. Magano says he needs several other priests to give him the ritual for a minor exorcism, which does not require church approval. And in fact, he can look it up on the internet. So he does quote an intense blessing on the home. And then that same day, he performs a minor exorcism on Latoya, which consists of prayers and statements and appeals to cast out demons. Several police officers and the family case manager attend the ritual. She says she felt something was going on, but she couldn't go as far as saying it was demonic, but she got chills during the nearly 2-hour rite, and said she felt like somebody else was in the room with them, breathing down her neck. And she had a string of medical problems after visiting the home. She got third-degree burns from a motorcycle. Within 30 days, she broke 3 ribs jet skiing. She broke a hand when she hit a table, and then broke an ankle running in flip-flops. Though, to be honest, that's a lot.
Why are you running in flip-flops?
You're also jet skiing, you're riding a motorcycle, you're running in flip-flops. Okay,
things are going to happen.
Anyway, after the minor ritual, the priest tells Latoya to look up the names of demons that were torturing her, supposedly. And each demon has a name and personality. And so the name has power. We know all of this. So Latoya and her friend looked up the demons' names online by searching for demons that represented the problems the family had been having. And the computer kept shutting down by itself. And then she felt sick and lightheaded. But they found names that fit. Of course, Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies. They also found names of demons that torture and hurt kids. And then she also said that other high-ranking demons were assigned to her, including lieutenants and sergeants. And after the minor rite, Magano says a bishop gives him permission to exorcise Latoya fully. And so it's like a similar thing. You know, he performs 3 exorcisms on Latoya, 2 in English, 1 in Latin. We're now in June and July. His voice grows louder and more forceful until the demon weakens. And he said he could tell how strong the demon was by how much Latoya was convulsing. Yada, yada, yada. She was hurting from the inside out, all over, whatever. In between the second and third exorcisms, the priest says he goes on a retreat. I need a break.
I need a break.
A woman who had assisted him with some of the exorcisms helps set up a backup plan in case Latoya has problems while the priest is gone. The woman wrote a long demon name, one that the priest says he can't remember which one it is, on a piece of paper and tucks it in an envelope, and then she surrounds it with salt. And if Latoya had problems, the woman would burn the envelope. By this time, Latoya and her mother had moved to Indianapolis, but they drove back for the exorcisms and court hearings because the children were still in DCS's care. And the home was blessed again. Latoya calls the priest while he's on his retreat, complains of bad dreams, so the woman burns the envelope. And she saves the ashes to burn again later in a church bonfire. And after that, all the nightmares ended. And so in the final exorcism, um, the priest prays and berates the demons in Latin rather than English. Police officers did not attend, so the priest said his like partner in all of this stood guard rather, and it said that Latoya convulsed while he condemned the demons, but did not convulse during prayer, and then she fell asleep. And he said words of thanksgiving. And then that would be the last time that Latoya sees the priest. She and her mother drive back to Indianapolis, where they now live without fear. Um, and there have been no problems in the home. There were no problems in the home before the family moving in, and there have been no problems since they moved out. So
It worked.
there's that. Latoya regains custody of her three children. At this point, we're right about at 2013, but the DCS continues to check on the children and make sure they're going to school. And then the case was finally closed in February of 2014. And Latoya Amons calls her children's return the happiest day of her life. And I mean, that's the house of 200 demons and the many exorcisms of Latoya Amons. I personally don't know what to think. I think a lot of it's bullshit. But then you hear about some of this other stuff that's verified by like people independently in the hospital and like the DCS case manager and the cops, and you're like, wow, that's pretty ape shit.
Yeah. And
I
that's a lot to still unpack.
I know.
Like
I know. But this whole thing lasted like 3 years. I mean, it was like 3 years before they officially closed the case on this. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's... I mean...
Oh, yeah. Part of me goes, I'm not really taking this bait, Latoya.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I gotta be honest.
But then, yeah, it's the other accounts. It's the other witnesses that throw me.
Yeah.
That, like, just go, okay, well, wait a minute. Then. Because, like, how do you get everyone on board like that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And, like, the fact that it happened some of this stuff happened outside of the home. You know, like in the hospital itself and shit like that. And it's like, well, it's not like she could have like rigged anything. She couldn't have like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Can I just say the officer that didn't believe in him and then afterwards then believed in them because he saw his car going back and forth? I feel like the demons were going, do you believe in us now, bitch?
Can you hear me now? I just love that what they were fucking with was just his car seat going forward and backward. Fuck.
How do you like me now? See, that makes me think of the show Ghosts, which
I love that.
It's like one of the ghosts has the ability to touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's very slow, so I feel like the demons were like, I can't do much, but I can push this button.
I love that. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on this one, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
I have to agree with you on that.
Like, I know, like, there's a lot of things that make me think this is bullshit. Like, it seems like there's this weird religious fervor going around. It seems like there was no problems before they got there, and there's no problems after they left. Like, you know, I don't know, weird shit. But then, at the same time, the kid glides backwards up the wall and the ceiling, and everybody, like, witnesses it, and they're like, well, better put this in the book, 'cause that was fucked. So, I don't know, it's weird. I'm 50-50 on it still. I don't know. I'd be curious to see, A, if any of our listeners have ever read about this, and B, what they think. So let us know.
Let us know. Comment down below on our Instagram. Or Facebook,
comment on all of our shit. Email us, whatever. Send a carrier pigeon. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you want to, however you want to communicate.
If you send a carrier pigeon to one of us, I'll be very impressed because you don't know where we live, but it'll be cool.
I will be, or maybe a little afraid. Yes.
That was a doozy, dude.
That was a
well
long
done.
one.
Absolutely well done, by the way, because there is a lot to unpack with all of that.
There is.
But like, where did you get this one from?
Google.
I
don't even remember what I looked up. I think I looked up like crazy true exorcism stories or something, you know, like you do. And I just found this, and it was like the house of 200 demons. And I was like, what the fuck?
I'm sold.
Fine. Do I think that there are 200 demons in that house? No. But I think I don't know, maybe was some shit going on. I really don't know what to think. I mean, it was also weird shit they found under the stairs.
Yeah,
But
that
who's
is
to
some
say they
great.
didn't put that shit down there either?
Yeah,
Like,
who's to say they did the pink press on nail? That's a little
yeah, seems
weird.
weird.
Yeah.
And then like they find all this shit and they're like, guess we'll stop digging.
It's just random stuff. No, you keep going at that point.
Like yeah, what okay. So anyway, that's just I'm 50-50. Long story short.
Wow.
There you
Wow.
have it. Um I don't even know what to say. Like reading back over it again, now my mind is like going in circles. So before I have a stroke, I think I think what
I
I'm
think
going to
we'll end
say
it there.
I think I'll
So,
say until next time.
stay strange.